Level 1, the powder monkey. You are 11 years old. The Marine Society signs you up. It gives you a wool jacket. It gives you 2 shirts. It gives you a clasp knife with a marlinspike. Your mother cannot feed 4 children on 8 pence a day. The recruiting clerk writes down 13. You are 11. He does not ask twice. Your ship is a third rate. 74 guns. 2 full gun decks bow to stern. You sling your hammock on the lower deck. 14 inches of space, shoulder to shoulder with the next man. 2 watches split the crew in half. When one watch sleeps, the other works the ship. Every Sunday the company musters aft. The captain reads the articles of war out loud. The punishments come before the ropes. Striking an officer, mutiny, desertion. All 3 end at the yardarm. The first flogging you watch is a dozen lashes. The bosun's mate ties the man to an upturned grating. The cat has 9 tails, waxed a knot at the end of each one. It weighs under a pound. Afterwards, salt goes into the open cuts. To stop the rot setting in. A gun captain claims you for his crew. 12 men serve 1 32-pounder. Powder monkey. You run cartridges from the magazine to his hands. 40 feet each way. Wrapped in flannel. No stray spark near open powder. The drum beats to quarters. 10 minutes to clear for action. The wardroom walls come down. Sand goes across the planking. Grip for what's coming. You run your first cartridge under real fire. The gun fires 18 inches from your head. Your ears ring for a full minute after. Your fingers will not close around the next cartridge. You force them shut. You run anyway. Tom runs the next gun over. He is 12. A splinter the size of a fence post takes his arm at the shoulder. He is dead before the surgeon's mate reaches the deck. Nobody stops firing to move him. You step past what's left of him on your next run, cartridge held tight against your chest. The gun captain watches you keep running after Tom goes down. He says nothing to you. That night he writes your name in his own private book. Not the ship's muster. His. The ship pays off after 11 months at sea. You have outlasted 1 full commission. Able seaman is 3 years away. Assuming the sea, the guns or the grating don't take you first. Level 2, the ordinary seaman. You are 15 years old. 4 years since the powder line. A year of it as landsman on the books. Then ordinary seaman, your new rate recorded everywhere that matters. The muster book. The purser's ledger. Your pay. You learn the reef knot. You learn the bow line. You learn the clove hitch. You learn a splice that takes 11 tries before the bosun's mate stops checking your work. Rations come the same every day. A pound of ship's biscuit. You tap it twice on the table first. The weevils fall out before you eat. Grog comes at noon. Rum cut 3/4 to 1 with lime juice stirred through. Half a pint, no more, no matter how loud a man asks. The first time you go aloft, the ship is rolling in a rising sea. Your hands lock onto the shrouds. 90 feet up, the foot rope is the only thing between your boots and open water. You do not look down twice. A boy 2 years younger than you gets caught sleeping on watch. He is caned across a gun barrel, 12 strokes in front of the whole crew. Under 19, it is the cane. Over 19, it is the cat. You learn the gun drill past running powder now. Sponge the bore. Ram the wad. Ram the shot. Prick the cartridge through the touch hole. 4 steps every time in order or the gun does not fire. A gale hits in the Bay of Biscay. Reef the topsails now before the masts go. You climb into wind that flattens your jacket against your back. Rope tears the skin off 2 of your fingers. You do not stop climbing. The boatswain's mate hands you a rope's end. He points at a landsman too slow with the braces. Start him, he says. You hit the man twice across the shoulders. He speeds up. You feel nothing you can name. You do it again the next day without being told. Your name goes into the captain's log for the first time. Steady in the tops. Fast on the lines. Able seems it's 3 years of this. You have given it 1. Level 3, the able seaman. You are 18 years old. 3 years since ordinary seaman. The captain tests you himself. Hand, reef and steer in front of the sailing master. You pass. Your rate changes on the ship books that same afternoon. Your pay rises with it. You go to the maintop as a topman. The nimblest hands on the ship work highest, fastest first. You learn to loose a topsail before the lieutenant finishes giving the order. You learn to furl it before the squall hits the deck below. You learn to run the foot rope in the dark by feel when the moon gives you nothing. You learn to send down a broken yard without dropping a man into the sea. A merchant brig runs alongside in harbour, short-handed on the way home from Jamaica. A press gang goes aboard, 10 men and an officer, cutlasses drawn. You are one of the 10. The merchant crew has nowhere to run on a deck at anchor. One of them is Sam. You grew up on the same street. He begs the officer. Wife. 2 children. Papers to prove he is protected. The papers are 2 months out of date. The officer does not read past the date. You are ordered to walk Sam below, to the ship's books, sign as a volunteer or be entered as pressed regardless. You walk him below. A cutting-out raid takes you into your first hand-to-hand fight, boarding pikes and cutlasses, over the rail of an anchored enemy brig in the dark. Under 4 minutes, start to finish. A blade opens your forearm to the bone. You do not feel it until the fight is over. A deserter is caught, sentenced to be flogged round the fleet, tied to the mast of the ship's launch, rowed to every ship in the harbour. A fresh bosun's mate on each deck lays on a fresh dozen. By the last ship, he has taken more lashes than most men see in a lifetime. You start picking up Mercator sailing from the sailing master, uninvited, watching him work the noon sight with his back turned. Latitude from the sun. Longitude from the chronometer, if the ship carries one worth trusting. Your first attempt at the sight puts the ship on dry land, 40 miles inland of where you actually are. You borrow his old tables at night. You teach yourself the logline and the half-minute glass, until the numbers stop lying to you. The captain catches you checking a midshipman's reckoning against your own. He finds the midshipman's wrong. He does not scold you. He asks your age. 18, you tell him. He asks if you own an officer's coat. You do not. He tells you to start saving for one anyway. Level 4, the midshipman. You are 20 years old. The captain calls you to his cabin. No family behind you. No purchase commission. No patron in London. He rates you midshipman anyway, on his own authority. For what you did on watch and in the tops these 9 years. It happens. Rarely. Almost never without money or a name behind it. Today it happens to you. The tailor's bill for one midshipman's coat is more money than you have ever held in your hand at once. He cuts the coat anyway on credit against wages you have not earned yet. The debt starts the same day the coat does. You move out of the lower deck mess and into the cockpit, the midshipman's berth below the waterline. 13 years old, some of the boys sharing your table. 14. Sons of captains, sons of admirals, here because of a name, not 9 years on a gun deck. You start real lessons now. Trigonometry with the sailing master. Mercator sailing, properly taught this time, not stolen at night from someone else's tables. 3 of the gentry-born midshipmen will not eat at your end of the table. One calls you jumped up to your face in front of the others. You do not answer him with words. You beat him at a sextant reading in front of the sailing master instead, 3 days running. Your first order goes to a top man twice your age, a man who has sailed since before you were born. Your voice cracks halfway through it. You force it steady and give the order again. He obeys the second time. He does not call you sir for another 6 weeks. The jumped-up insult turns into a challenge behind the sail locker. Pistols, at first light. The first lieutenant hears of it an hour before dawn. He ends it with a week of punishment duty for both of you. Neither of you fires a shot. A seaman named Davies is caught drunk on watch. Davies stood beside you at the same gun 3 years ago, running powder to the same crew. Now you are the officer who must order his flogging. A dozen lashes, read from the articles in your own voice, in front of the whole company. You do not look away while it happens. Looking away is a privilege you no longer have. The clock starts today, whether you ask for it or not. 2 years served as midshipman or master's mate minimum before you can even sit the board. A panel of 3 captains waits at the end of it. One wrong answer out of dozens is enough to fail. Level 5, the master's mate. You sit the board. 3 captains sit behind a table in a borrowed cabin. You have crammed the sights and the tables and the knots for 2 nights straight, barely sleeping. You are 23. 2 full years served as midshipman on the books exactly as the rule demands. They ask you to name every rope on a full-rigged ship in order, from the deck up. They ask you to reef a topsail in a rising gale in words only. Your hands move through the motions in the air anyway. They ask you to work a lunar distance, to find the ship's longitude without a chronometer. One captain asks for the compass variation by amplitude. For 3 full seconds, nothing comes. The answer returns just before the silence turns into a failing mark. You pass. There is no vacancy for a lieutenant on any ship in the yard. You are rated master's mate instead. More pay than a midshipman. Still no commission. Still no epaulette. The war with France and Spain has run 2 years already since the peace broke. Every yard in England has been fitting out ships for sea the whole time. You are ordered aboard a ship of the line, joining a fleet gathering off Cadiz. 27 ships of the line, waiting on one admiral's word. A past midshipman 2 years older than you climbs to the cross trees one grey morning. Failed twice already for a vacancy that never opened. He does not climb back down. No one reads his name at muster the next day. The ship sails on the same tide. Word reaches the fleet within the week. The combined French and Spanish fleet has come out of Cadiz harbour, 33 ships strong, making for the open Atlantic. Every ship in the British fleet clears for a general action that has not been fought yet. It will be within days. Level 6, the lieutenant. Your commission finds you 3 days before Trafalgar. The papers reach you off Cadiz. A plain blue coat. No epaulette. That mark is still 7 years away yet for a lieutenant, reserved for captains and commanders only. You are given a battery on the lower gun deck instead. 6 guns. Roughly 80 men, counting the boys who run the powder. The dawn of the 21st of October brings the enemy fleet into view. 33 ships strung out in a broken line. 27 British ships answer, in 2 separate columns, sailing straight at the enemy's line instead of alongside it. Every man on the lower deck knows what that means. Close, brutal, point-blank gunnery. Not a long exchange at range. A signal runs up the flagship's halyard, spelled out flag by flag. England expects that every man will do his duty. You clear for action for the last time before it counts. Cabin walls come down around the wardroom. Sand goes across the decks, fresh and thick. The magazine opens below. Cartridges start moving up the same 40-foot run you once ran yourself as a boy. The enemy line holds its fire until your ship is almost touching it. The first broadside comes in at point-blank range, both decks at once. The deck jumps under your feet. Splinters do more killing in the first minute than the shot itself. Your first range call falls short by 2 ship lengths. The shot lands in open water, wasted. You correct it before the next call. You call the range down the deck. You call the elevation for the next shot. You call fire. 14 guns answer within the same second, all down your battery. 90 seconds to reload if the crew is fast. Half that on your best gun. Twice the rate the enemy manages on their own decks. A raking broadside comes in along the length of the deck, not across it. 6 of your 14 men at the end gun go down in the same second. You do not stop to count which ones are breathing. You pull 2 powder monkeys off the magazine run. You put them on the tackles instead, alongside a wounded man who can still stand on one leg. Word travels down through the hatchway before the surgeon confirms it. The admiral is hit. Shot through the shoulder, the ball buried somewhere near his spine. He is carried below, past the wounded, waiting for the surgeon's table. He does not come back up. By late afternoon, the guns fall quiet, 1 deck at a time. Your fleet has lost no ship. The combined fleet has lost most of theirs. Below in the cockpit, the admiral who signalled every man to his duty is already dead. A gale is building from the west before the last prize crew even boards its ship. The war with France is not over. It will not be over for another 10 years. Level 7, the commander. You are 29 years old. The commission names you master and commander of an 18-gun sloop. 90 feet of deck, 120 men, entirely yours. You sign for the ship's stores yourself. You sign for the powder and the shot. You sign for every life aboard. The articles hold you responsible for each one until you hand the command back. You read yourself in front of the assembled crew, your own voice the only one left that outranks anyone aboard. 18 years since the powder line. You have a cabin with a door that locks from the inside for the first time since you were 11. A blockade runner tries to slip past you into a French harbour at night, running dark, no lights. Your first attempt to cut across her bow misses by a ship's length. She slips past into open water. You come about, sail ahead of the wind. You try again, 6 hours of chase under full sail, gaining a half mile for every 2 you cover. She strikes her colours an hour before dawn, holds full of contraband silk and brandy. Salt beef comes aboard rotten from a corrupt contractor. The grog ration gets cut to save what's left of the rum. 24 men refuse the deck one morning, sitting on the forecastle instead of turning to. You read the articles aloud yourself. You replace the beef from your own pocket before the refusal goes any further than sitting down. A gale off the Ushant coast takes the mainmast clean off at deck, 8 feet above the step. You jury rig a spare topmast in its place, lashed and fished with what spare spars the carpenter can find. You limp into Plymouth 3 days later under half her proper sail. The action against the blockade runner earns you 3 lines in the London Gazette. Your first time in print, name spelled correctly. A seaman named Corrigan strikes the second lieutenant across the face during a dispute over rations. Striking a superior officer carries 1 sentence under the articles. You convene the court yourself on your own quarterdeck. Corrigan hangs from the yardarm at 8 bells the next morning. The whole crew is mustered to watch, exactly as the law demands. You give the order in the same voice you once heard read out over a man tied to a grating. You were 11 years old then, watching. You never expected to be the one giving it. The post-captain's list has hundreds of names on it, above yours. Some men wait a decade for a step that never comes. You have made commander at 29. Post is not a promise. It is a line you now have to wait in. Level 8, the post-captain. You are 33 years old. The commission makes you post. Not master and commander anymore. Post-captain, full and confirmed, your name written into the London Gazette under a frigate's name instead of a sloop's. 32 guns. Over 200 men. 6 weeks later, word arrives from Belgium. Waterloo has ended the war with Napoleon for good this time. Not for a year. Not for a truce. For good. The fleet that spent 22 years fighting France has almost nothing left to fight. You spend the next 4 years on a peacetime station. You chauffeur the flag in harbours that already know it. You inspect the same rigging twice a week for want of anything else to inspect. You drill gun crews on guns that have not fired at an enemy in 4 years. The frigate spends more days at anchor than at sea, paint peeling above the waterline. The Navy list becomes the only book you read. You count the names above yours every morning. You count them again every evening. You count them a third time when sleep doesn't come. Every captain senior to you is a name and a number, in order, unbroken. The list runs back to men who made post before you were born. A captain 3 years younger than you has an admiral for a father-in-law. He is posted to a squadron command you are in line for. He has 11 years less sea time than you. He has a name that opens doors yours cannot touch. An old lieutenant from your first command, retired ashore now, teaches you the word for it. Yellow Admiral. What waits at the far end of a list this long? Promoted to Rear Admiral the day you retire. No squadron colour. No flag flown from any mast. A pension with a rank attached to it. Nothing else. A captain you served under as a young lieutenant 11 years back dies in his sleep at 61. Still a captain. 41 years after his first command. The Gazette gives him 2 lines. Your own logbook, the day the news reaches you, gives him more. One name stands above yours on the list by the following spring. A single vacancy from the top. Whether the Admiralty hands you an active flag or the yellow one is not yours to decide. No one can answer it before it happens. Level 9, the Commodore. You are 45 years old. A broad pennant goes up your mainmast, not a flag. Senior captain present given temporary command of a squadron of 5 ships. Not a rank. Not yet. A duty on loan, revoked the day this commission ends. Your squadron patrols off the West African coast. You hunt ships still running slaves 20 years after Parliament made the trade illegal. You board slavers running under Portuguese papers that are forged. You board slavers running as under Spanish papers that expired the year before. You board slavers flying no papers at all, betting no British ship would ask to see them. One slaver outruns your fastest ship into neutral waters, colours still flying, holds still full. You watch her cross the line you cannot cross. You let her go. 2 of your captains are older than you by a decade. Senior in age. Junior in this command by an accident of timing. One resents taking orders from a man he trained as a midshipman. You give the orders anyway. He obeys them anyway. Neither of you mentions it again. A boarding party finds 400 people chained below a false deck, built 18 inches too low to stand upright in. You order the iron struck off with a cold chisel, 1 pair of ankles at a time, through the whole night. A lieutenant named Ashworth leads a second boarding, on your direct order. The slaver opens fire rather than strike her colours. A musket ball takes him through the throat before his own boat reaches the hull. He is 22. You write the letter to his mother yourself, in your own hand, the same night. You have written this letter before. 34 years ago as a boy too young to write at all. You watched a gun captain do it instead for a boy named Tom. The squadron's action is reported directly to the Admiralty inside 3 months. Your name is attached to it in a dispatch you did not write yourself. Word comes back that a lord of the Admiralty has asked after you by name. The captain's list has 1 name above yours by the year's end. 1 vacancy will decide whether that name is the last one you ever have to count. Level 10, the Admiral. You are 55 years old. The commission arrives without warning. Rear Admiral of the Blue. It could have gone the other way. It does not. A real squadron waits in the roads, flying colours that answer to you alone. 44 years since the Marine Society signed you up for a wool jacket and 2 shirts. Most of the men from that ship are dead now. Some to the sea. Some to the guns. Most simply to time in beds ashore decades after anyone was still counting. You hoist your flag for the first time on a morning with no wind worth the name. 13 guns fire the salute, the regulation number for a Rear Admiral of the Blue. The war took your hearing in 1 ear, years ago, gone into the guns for good. It took 2 fingers on your right hand, rope burned and shot scarred past feeling. It took every man who once called you by your first name 1 at a time over 40 years. You walk the quarterdeck of your own flagship. The same design of deck you once ran cartridges across as a boy of 11, 40 feet each way, wrapped in flannel. No one running powder here has any reason to know that. You do not tell them. A captain of 31 comes aboard to report. Gentry born. Easy in his uniform, in a way you never were in yours. He calls you sir without being told to. A top man twice your age once withheld that word from you for 6 weeks. You understand why now. You give him his orders. He does not know what it costs to be the one giving them. Your right hand is not fully close anymore. It fumbles the pen on the first attempt at signing your own commission. It signs on the second try. It still returns a salute. In the evening you walk the dockyard alone. Past storehouses you once carried powder past as a boy. Medals on your coat that nobody here recognises, without being told what they're for. At the far end of the yard, a recruiting officer waits at the foot of a gangway. A boy from the poorhouse stands beside him. The boy is 11, maybe younger, a kit bag too big and held against his chest with both arms. His hands are shaking. He has not slept. He does not yet know that no one will ask his real age twice. You know that look. You have never stopped knowing it. You say nothing to him. There is nothing you could say that the next 9 years would not say better. You turn back toward your own ship instead. You climb the gangway of your own flagship one more time under your own flag. The cycle continues.